All right, so this is question number 11 of the midterm, and what it's given is g of 0 equals a half. And the nth derivative of the function f at x equals 0 is given by that equation that's shown right here. And it's asking which of the following is the Maclaurin series for f itself. So before we're going to get started with that, we need to make sure that we have the Maclaurin equation first. And so what we're going to have to do here is, well, I guess you have to follow. You don't have to do anything. So that, and you know, it's going to be double prime of 0 and then x squared. And then it just continues. And what you should know is that it's divided by your nth derivative, so it's going to be like that. Or no, it's divided by nth factorial. There we go. That's a little better. And what we're going to do here is we're going to apply this equation into this equation that we just got here. So let's do that. I think that's the... Nope, that is the opposite of what I wanted. There we go. Alrighty. My bad. I should have paused the video. I will do it next time. Alright, so now that we have that, we're going to apply this specific equation into that first equation. So what we're going to have is negative 1 to 0. So we want our first term, second, third, and so forth, because that's what it's asking right here. So like your first one, your second one, and then as you go. And so we're going to have our first term. We're going to find that one. And so you plug in 0 for your first one, because it's f of 0. That's your first part of your Maclaurin series, the general equation at least. And so we have negative 1 to the 0, 0 plus 1, over n plus 2, and then times 2. All right. Forgot to replace that n with a 0. And so what we have here is 1 over 2 times 1 times negative 1 to the 0, which is all equal to 1/2 if you do the math correctly, which is exactly what they told us right here. And so with that, we could just put our first term is equal to half. And if we look at our answer choices, since we got half, we could already eliminate a, and then we can keep going. Let's find out what our second one is. So what we're going to have is negative 1, but this time the nth power follows whatever term you're going with. So to the 1, and then we have our 1 plus 1 over 1 plus 2 times 2 to the 1. And it's also, remember that initial thing is times n factorial, but 0 factorial didn't do anything, so we didn't include it. But this time it'd be just 1 factorial, which is still 1, but we don't want to forget that because it's pretty important. So we have negative 1 to the 1, so that's already going to be negative times whatever this gets us. So from the looks of it, we get 2 over 1 plus 2 is 3 times our 2 is 6. So negative 1, and then remember we have our x, and then so you'll see the trend. It's a very interesting trend. So times our x, that is 1 over 3x, and that's our second term, which is n equals 1. So it's a little confusing, but always start with the 0, which will be your first, and then as you go you'll see. And so negative 1 over 3x is our second term. And then if we look at our answer choices once again, we can see that B still works, C does not work, D still works, and E does not work. So we've already narrowed down quite a lot with just a little bit of work. And now let's try to find our third term, which in this case will be 2 for any nth terms that we find. So negative 1 to the power of 2, and then we're going to have 2 plus 1, and then over 2 plus 2. And remember, our factorials matter. So now we have that times 2 to the second times 2 factorial x squared. So it got a lot more complicated, but if you remember with our original Maclaurin series, I could just write it out real quick just so you can remember. There we go. And then it continues the trend. It's just our n. So I guess I should tell you that it just continues with the same trend. And so now we're trying to find our third term. And so what we have here is negative 1 squared. It's just positive. So our value is going to be positive unless anything on the other side is negative. We have 3 over 2 plus 2 is 4 times 4. So we have 16 times 2 factorial x squared. So now it's a very large number. So we have 3 over, so we got 32 x squared, and it's positive from this right over here. So we could see 3 over 32 x squared is going to be our third term. And let's fix that because that looks a little wonky. We don't want it to be on the denominator. And now, looks like they both have it on B. Or, no, I guess B doesn't have it. There we go. So your answer choice would be D here. But we're going to go and find that last Maclaurin series just in case you're ever like confused here because you got your numbers over here that are similar. So let's do that really quick. So now we're going to find our fourth term here. So we're going to do, first we're going to do negative 1 to the power of 3. And 3 plus 1 over 3 plus 2 times 2 to the power of 3 times 3 factorial. So the denominator again is going to be quite large. So what we have here is on the bottom right here, we're going to have 4 because 3 plus 1 is 4. And then we have our 3 plus 2 is 5 times 8. And then with that, that's 40. We're going to multiply that by our 3 factorial that we had earlier. And so that's basically just 6, because factorial, if you don't know, 3 times 2 times 1 is equal to 6. So 40 times 6, you get 240. And with that, we have to remember this over here. So we're going to have our negative from earlier. So it's negative 240. And obviously none of that is present in our answer choices over here. So what we could do is, obviously they want us to simplify and remember that x to the power of 3. And looks like you can just divide it all by 4 and you will get your answer.